celebrate the victory here at Rockingham.
The Sprint All-Star Race and $1 million.
All the years that Jack Roush has been coming here, finally gets the Daytona 500.
So Matt Kenseth, Jack Roush.
Well, Chris, Matt Kenseth wins the biggest race of them all.
Slipping through for the lead.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Daytona Beach, Florida. We are live from the Daytona International Speedway. I'm Matt Yocum, and on behalf of Roush Fenway Racing, welcome to the Great American Race, the 63rd running of the Daytona 500. Now, for the next 45 minutes, we'll be live. We're directly behind pit road. All the stars from Roush Fenway Racing will be stopping by. Drivers Ryan Newman, Chris Buescher, owner Jack Roush, crew chiefs past and present. So sit back and enjoy the next 45 minutes with us as we talk about the Great American Race. Many folks say to win this race, it makes a career. To win it twice, that makes you a Hall of Fame legend. And that's exactly what's taken place with the legendary crew chief, Jimmy Fittig. And it all started 33 years ago today.
Winning with Bobby in 1988 was, I'll tell you one thing, that was, I think that was the second win of my career, and it was a big one. Winning here with Bobby was, and we actually beat Davey on that race, but it was a super race, and Bobby, you know, he was awesome as a race car driver. You know, he come in the last pit stop, he said, we didn't have any spoiler rules, and he said, let's go ahead and bend that spoiler down, I'll win this race. So we knocked you down, you won the race, and that was the happiest I've been.
Now, 25 years later, Jimmy Fittig made history again on two different fronts, not only scoring his second Daytona 500 win as a crew chief and giving Jack Roush his second Daytona 500 victory as a car owner. It marked a special milestone, Roush Fenway Racing's 300th career win.
That win with Matt was awesome. That was, I believe that was the night that Jed Schreier started on fire in the backstretch, and it was a long, long night, but we had some issues with blowing water out of the PRV valve, but we beat that system and won that race. And that was, you think about it, is from the car we had with Bobby Allison, then 25 years, the difference in cars with Matt Kenseth. Both of them were awesome wins.
Well, that was the past. Now we're looking ahead to the future. In today's running of the Daytona 500, not one but two chances for Roush Fenway Racing. And here's Jimmy Fittig's thoughts on today's opportunities.
Oh, I feel that we have a great chance of winning with either car. Ryan kind of showed some speed there in the 150s. Chris got shuffled out a little bit, but come race day, they're both going to be racing to the front, or at the end, we will be at the front just like last year.
Well, confidence is certainly high, and Jimmy helped make so many special memories through the years. And when you look at the special days and nights that Roush Fenway Racing has seen here at Daytona, simply magical. Let's take a look back at some past history.
All the years that Jack Roush has been coming here, finally gets the Daytona 500.
The race has officially been declared final. It is over. So Matt Kenseth, Jack Roush, there is your Daytona 500 winner in the 51st running of the Great American Race, the 2009 champ, Matt Kenseth in a backup car, slipping through for the lead, and now the victory in the rain-shortened Daytona 500.
It's a pretty great way for Jack Roush to start off his 25th year in Sprint Cup.
Kenseth leads to turn one. Final lap.
Denny Hamlin in 11th there with no one to push him.
Actually, he might be hurt those two cars in front of him if he gets back too far. But here we go. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen pretty quick.
We've seen where the timing of where you do it is so critical.
And those two cars, the 16 and the 88, should be able to get by. But Kenseth, if Biffle elects to take the chance.
Ford Chevrolet off the final corner. Matt Kenseth trying to win it for the second time. Here comes Junior to the outside. Side by side with Kenseth. He runs out of time. Matt Kenseth wins the Daytona 500.
I tip my hat.
I know Matt Kenseth, but that's a Jimmy.
2009.
What a history-making night that certainly was right here in Daytona Beach, Florida. It seems like almost yesterday, but it was over 3 decades ago that owner Roush unloaded Cup car for the first time in NASCAR competition, and it just seems like through the years that Hall of Famer has rewritten record books in so many different ways, not only on the competition side, but also on the business side here in the sport of NASCAR racing. So we welcome the two-time Daytona 500 winning car owner Jack Roush to the show. And Jack, Daytona 500, the race morning, you can feel the energy. It never gets old, and each year is unlike any other, isn't it?
Each year is very special. You know, I've not been in the garage area for a year, solid year. The last time I was in the garage area was the Daytona race a year ago. And to be back in the garage area is a great opportunity for me to visit with my friends and to touch my power base. When I started with NASCAR in 1988, I'd already been to 4 or 5 races at Daytona, road races with different series, and I've been successful with each one of them. So it was a great disappointment to me when I didn't win in 1988, and it took 18 years before we finally won our first 500 for NASCAR. So I had a rude awakening as the years unfolded, as how difficult it was.
Now, Jack, when you look at your wins, 2009, 2012, it's almost like kids. Each one is special in their own way.
Yeah, each win has been very special. We won with Matt first, and that was great. I still have the debris on the car that he won with from the Champagne celebration.
And you also mentioned it that you were actually here before your time in NASCAR racing in sports cars. And I go back to a very special and really an iconic individual, not as much in racing, although he left his mark, was actor Paul Newman. And in 2005, you teamed him with Hall of Famer Mark Martin and Tommy Kendall. And your driver, P.L. Newman, scored at the age of 70, scored his final IMSA victory, a very special event. How did that all come together?
Well, he had some marketing dollars left over from his Nobody's Fool movie that he'd done with, I think it was Universal Studios. But anyway, he came to me and says, Jack, I'd like to go to Daytona and run the 24 hours. And I'd run the Daytona 24 hours 9 times previous with a GT car, and we'd won all 9 times. And I said, well, Paul, you know, I said, I was lucky to win my first race, and then so much more lucky to win my 9th race. We've taken a year off here. I didn't go to the 9th race for the 10th anniversary of my first win. We didn't go. So this will be my 11th. In 11 years, it would be my 10th try to win a race. And I said, I've got to have a full complement of people and all the parts I need. And I said, it's going to be expensive. So he said, well, the studio had some money left over that they would allow him to use for this. And if I just make decisions like I made before, they would be willing to invest in it. And, of course, we ran 23 and a half hours, and he came out of the car maybe 23 hours and 15 minutes. he came out of the car and he said, "Boy, I'm glad that's over." He says, "I hadn't driven much in the last 4 or 5 years." He said, I was afraid I'd let the team down after I saw what you assembled." And I said, "Well," I said, "you're not done yet." I said, "Go to the bathroom and get a bite to eat." I said, "I'm putting you back in the car for the checkered flag." So he took the checkered flag, and then we had 10 out of 10 for me and 1 out of 10 for Paul, and 1 out of 1 for Paul. And we had just a great time. There's a story with that. Paul Newman would not sign an autograph. And I had the habit of when I would send drivers out to race their part of it, I'd give them $50 with the idea that if they got stopped back in the infield someplace where the lights weren't very bright, they encourage a corner worker to push them back where they needed to be and help them get going again. So I gave Paul his $50, and he started to give it back to me after the race because he had no trouble. I says, "Paul," I says, "I won't take cash. I only take a check." So he had to sign a check and give me my $50 back.
Oh, what a great story. So many special memories for you, not only in NASCAR, but through all the different disciplines. But you've also been a great groundbreaker as far as the business side and what you've done in changing the business model and how you've treated your corporate partners through the years, where they're not just a partner, they're more like family. And when you look at 2021, the sport really had a nice pivot and a shift last year. And it seems like, in my opinion, this year, the energy and the momentum that we're carrying, it almost feels like 2001. Can you feel the shift and the big momentum and wind at our backs?
Well, there's been a lot of trouble with the race teams making their businesses work. And the change that we're going to get in 2022 for the new car is going to be have the hope of putting us in a better situation business-wise. But going to the one-day events for 2000 really gave us a chance to catch our breath and to get ready for the changes coming.
Well, Jack, I'll tell you, when you look at the growth of the sport, and you've mentioned it several times, 2021, the schedule is going to grow with some new venues. We're going to go to Circuit of the Americas, back to Nashville. But what I love also is going to Road America up at Elkhart Lake. And you've had so much success there. Back in 1985, you had Lynn St. James behind the wheel of your IMSA GTO Mustang. She went to victory lane that day. And then I think back to 2010, Carl Edwards, the very first Xfinity race at Road America, Fastenal colors. This is their 10th year, getting ready for their 11th season with Roush Fenway Racing. He went to victory lane. So it's special to have the Cup car and the Fastenal colors. And it's also the home racetrack for your new sponsor, Kohler. So a lot of cool things will be happening this summer, 4th of July weekend, up at Elkhart Lake.
It's great. I was 46 years old when I came to NASCAR in 1988, and I had a lot of success before I came there. I'm restoring a drag race car that I ran in '74 that is 46 years ago that I had success with as well. So we look forward to going up there with Fastenal and Kohler and being able to relive some of our success in the past. I'm very confident that we'll make a good showing of ourselves there.
So, Jack, I know you're really busy. You've got a lot on your plate today with different team strategy meetings and everything. But one thing that I think, especially being in a super speedway race, you've left your fingerprints all over the sport in so many areas, but especially safety and with roof flaps. How did that all come about to try to keep those cars on the ground and make racing safer for the drivers?
Well, as through the 70s, as the cars got rounder, they became more aerodynamic efficient. They had a propensity. If you started to spin the car, it would lift the front end, lift the leading edge of the car, and roll the car backwards. Anybody that played with model airplanes as a youngster would know what a little balsa wood and paper model airplane will do if you don't put a tail on it. It would climb and then spin forward, and the NASCAR cars were doing that. So they figured out that they needed to upset the laminar airflow to be able to keep it on the ground at 100 180 mile an hour or so. So anyway, they set up a test at the Darlington airport to blow air from the Hawker jet that the NASCAR had across the car and have the deck lid come up and some other things happen. They were horribly violent tests, and NASCAR had a vision of watching a deck lid go off through the grandstands or something else come off the car. And there was a fellow by the name of Gary Eicher that was an engineer for General Motors, and he lamented as he looked at the car and says, you know, all we really need is two 6-inch high, 18-inch long plates that we could have stand up and we could stop all this. And he said, but we could never do that. In my mind's eye, I had a vision of how that could work, and I said, I'm pretty sure I could do it. So I went back and talked to my engineers. We did one example, engineering level number 1 of the roof laps, and NASCAR accepted them. And for more than 15 years, the cars didn't change, and the same roof laps kept the cars on the racetrack. Except for that, we would have had to slow the cars down at least 20 mile an hour to lower the liftoff point to the point that they could keep them out of the grandstands.
Well, I'll tell you what, certainly an incredible story, and it has come to fruition on the racetrack, trying to keep the cars on the ground as much as possible and keep the drivers safe. So, Jack, congratulations on your past success. Good luck on your future success. And today, chasing your 3rd Daytona 500 win.
Thanks, Matt, having you on the line with us today, helping inform excite our partners and our other fans about what we're going to do today is really great. I appreciate your help.
Well, Jack, thank you. It's an honor to be a part of the Roush Fenway Racing family today here in Daytona. Good luck today, Jack.
Thank you.
So we've got an iconic co-owner who will be on one of the boxes today. If you look at a pair of drivers, we're going to talk to those guys coming up trying to score that Harley J. Earl trophy a little bit later in the show. But a pair of crew chiefs, iconic leaders through the years in different positions. Now they're on top of the box and trying to chase that Harley J. Earl trophy. Scott Graves came so ultra close last year, and confidence is certainly high heading into today's race.
Yeah, it was a good race for us. Ryan felt like the car handled really well, so issues there were good. If anything, he just felt like lacked a little bit of raw speed to be able to position himself where he wanted to at times. So that was one of the things we were thinking about going into Sunday's race. But overall, pretty happy with the balance of the car and what he was able to do with it.
Now, Edsel Ford, we all call him the Godfather because he is Ford Racing, and he always has a competition meeting race morning with all the Ford drivers and preaching about how we're all one team with the blue oval. And when you look at how you have to work together throughout the race, the Fords have really set the template for all the other manufacturers to follow of how to work together as a team. So that's the question for Scott Graves today. How will these guys all work together when there's so many unknowns coming up in today's race?
Perfect scenario is end of the race. It's us and the 17, lined up 1-2, pushing each other, whatever order, but pushing each other for the win. But for sure, our two cars work together, and then also with all the Ford cars, they work together well. I think you saw that the other night in the duels. There is definitely everybody's going to work together, but when it comes down to the end of the race, you get to the last couple laps. You got to do what you have to do to win it if you think you can get yourself in position. And then you do have to look if there's a spot of you can help the Ford car win. If you you're not going to win it, but you can help the Ford win versus somebody else, then you're going to help the Ford win.
It's really a mixed game plan, much like mixed emotions a year ago. Scott Graves and Ryan Newman, it looked like they were going to be on their way to Newman's second Daytona 500 victory. And then the big crash that took place coming to the start-finish. And for not only Scott, Ryan, but especially the guys on the team, it's really what are the emotions coming back to Daytona in February and the Great American Race?
Yeah, obviously there's a little bit of thought to that. It's a year later, and I know there's a lot of, you see it out on pit road, there's a lot of people, looking to Ryan and, what's his emotion about the whole thing. I honestly believe in his mind, you know, he's moved on, he's over it. He's focused on what he's got to do, you know, Sunday in the race, and that's what I see from him. So it's, I think, you know, when he gets in the car, it's going to be business as usual. He's going to be focused on what he has to do to win this race on Sunday and put last year behind him.
Always so impressive when you see drivers after something like that, the big crash here at Daytona, to hit the reset button and just move forward with blinders on, looking ahead at the next trophy, not looking in the mirror. And if you want to look back to last year, another team out of Roush Fenway that had a shot for the win was the 17 of Luke Lambert and Chris Buescher. They finished third, or what might have been, but it gives them a much more confidence heading into this Speed Weeks, knowing how their Speedway program was a year ago. So the question for Luke was, what are the takeaways from the Duel on Thursday?
We felt like that we didn't quite have the speed dialed into the car that we were hoping to have. There's a couple adjustments that we feel like we need to do based on where we were in the duels to get the car where it needs to be, but we're pretty confident we can get there. We worked on that for practice today. We had a brief practice experience and got a little bit of information there and feel pretty confident we've got the right adjustments going into the race. All that said, I felt like the duels for us would have been a decent race had we not got checked up there at the end with the 19 car coming back to the checker flag.
Well, it certainly takes the total package, driver, crew chief, and especially the spotter to have success in Speedway racing. And that's what Chris Buescher and Luke Lambert saw a year ago in the Speedway races. So confidence is certainly high. Fun meter is pegged, but now strategy comes in. How is that going to play out today here in Daytona?
So we felt very confident about our performance in Speedways last year. And looking back on all of the races that we competed together with Chris, we found ourselves inside the top 5 at almost every Super Speedway race, or at every Super Speedway race last year. And so in the closing laps, there were a few things that we feel like we could build on from last year and do a little bit differently. And we put a lot of effort between the spotter and Mike Herman and Chris, studying tape and looking at our strategy for how we approach those closing laps. We feel pretty confident we've got a few adjustments that we're planning to make that are going to help us make the moves that we need to put ourselves in contention to actually take the checkered flag this time.
There are certainly so many components that come into having a great day at Daytona, and Chris Buescher has certainly had some stellar runs in the past. When you look at his racing resume, yes, he was third here in this event a year ago, but he also has 3 fifths between the oval and road course. So we welcome Chris Buescher into the show, and confidence certainly has got to be high.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate having me on here, and we definitely look at these super speedways as an awesome opportunity for us, right? So when you look at last season's results at all of them, we had some really strong runs. Like Luke was just referring to, we were in the top 5 and in the hunt every single one. And I think when we look at just a handful of different moves, we find ourselves in victory lane. Now that's easy to say right now, but we have studied enough to where we feel pretty confident that with implementing some of those changes, working closer with Herm up on top and trying to understand a little bit more from my perspective of what he's saying when things are coming up and how quickly, I feel like we're going to put ourselves in a good position to win. So, it's cool to be back at the Daytona 500 with Fastenal on board of our Ford Mustang. Cool to be back at Roush Fenway after a trying year last season with very little practice at the beginning of the season and then none for the remainder, coming into a new team and trying to get that fresh start and build that notebook. We've definitely had some hurdles that have been pretty trying to get over, but we're definitely making progress. Again, we know when we come to these super speedways that Roush Fenway puts some terrific race cars on track that are going to give us an awesome opportunity to win. And it's just up to us to be smart about it, make a game plan, stick to it, and work together to survive and be there at the end and put ourselves in that position to make the right move this time to be in victory lane.
So you mentioned the challenges of it the past year, but also really the challenges of racing on the speedways, the super speedways, namely, because so much goes into it. What's the growth pattern been like for you, learning the nuances of Daytona and Talladega type racing?
You go back to the Xfinity years at Roush Fenway, and we really had some solid runs then too. We finished really well. We finished them first of all, and we finished them really well. We were really competitive. We pushed a teammate to a win in early years there with Ryan Reed, and then we're always in the hunt. So I don't know that it's something I can really pick apart and tell you that we're got it figured out, but there's a certain set of circumstances that we've tried to stick to and tried to control as well. That's the tough part. Is there is a certain amount of luck when you come to these races, and it's got to go your way, and sometimes it doesn't. And I will tell you that. But what we plan ahead and what we try to do, we try to do our best to make our own luck when we can, stay out of the big accidents, and be there at the end so that we can have our two Roush Fenway Fords in a position to try and get a win like last season here at the Daytona 500. So hoping that we can be in that same position again and actually wrap up a win.
So you're starting 22nd. That's not really indicative of how good of a race car you have. And you mentioned planning. At what point do you need to be in a certain position? 10 laps to go. What position do you need to be in so that way you can start reeling off the laps, working toward the finish?
Yeah, when you look at the starting position, it really doesn't matter much here. We know what we're trying to achieve by the end of the race and where we're trying to get to. So I don't know that I got a certain lap. It used to be you thought you had to be with 50 laps to go in position and race from there. Now, anymore, the big one doesn't happen until 10 to go or even inside of that. So it's made it very difficult to try and conserve and wait and then come up to the front right there in those closing laps. So I think what we've tried to do is just run up front and, try and go up there, run for some stage points, read the room, and try and judge if it's getting aggressive and we feel like there's an opportunity for us to get out of line, save our car, or make sure that we don't end up in an accident, then we'd be smart about it. If we're going to try and get 6 stage points out of it, we're gonna keep running. But if you're racing for that 9th or 10th spot and only looking at 1 or 2 points, then perhaps it is better to get out if you feel like the intensity is to the boiling point. So we can't predict it 100%. We can't read it like a book. It's kind of seat of the pants feel throughout the entire race. I don't know that there's a certain lap where you have to be in position, but I do know that you get to the end if you find yourself up towards the front or even in the front half, and you're able to make a move, then it's all coming down to the right circumstances and the right things going your way, and having the right help so you can keep moving forward.
Now, the passion for success, they mirror each other with Ford racing and also Roush Fenway racing. You can walk through the lobby, you can just see the heritage and all of the memories from past glory of taking home trophies. And when you go to Detroit and Livonia, or you go over to the Henry Ford, and Edsel Ford talks so much about how racing is in the DNA of Ford. It's what started the Ford Motor Company. How proud are you to be a part of that Ford family?
And that's exactly it. We just got off a call with Mr. Edsel, and we go through talking with all the Ford drivers, all the Ford teams, and they've talked with all the crew chiefs, and family is the first word that he brings up. He said, this is a family operation for us. This is what we want to do, and we're also competitors. So the legacy there is huge, right? Everybody knows the story and how it all started and how much racing means to Ford Motor Company. So it's always been awesome for me to be driving a Ford and to be a part of this group and to be a part of Jack's legacy at the same time is very special, and I want to keep building on it. Want to make sure that we're creating more for him, creating more for Ford Motor Company, and so it's a great opportunity. We know we have speed. We know we have good engines with Roush Yates and that whole group behind Doug Yates. And I think we have all the pieces of the puzzle here. We're just trying to put them all together in the right order at these speedways to make it work, and really the whole season. So, pretty honored to be in a Ford every week and be racing these Mustangs. Pretty honored to be at Roush Fenway Racing again, where I've got many years under my belt already, and the organization that really gave me my big break into to professional stock car racing. So we're definitely trying to do all we can to return these favors that were given to me early on, and again, build those legacies.
Your race day schedule is certainly busy. You've got a team meeting coming up. You mentioned the Ford meeting. We want to welcome in your Roush Fenway Racing teammate, the 2008 winner of the Great American Race, Ryan Newman. So before we let you go, we want to bring Ryan in. And have you two had a chance, Ryan, to talk about strategy for today? Because it's so hard to work with teammates, but I know when you can and you have the opportunity, you will. Have you worked out anything early on?
No, we haven't, but on purpose, because the strategy and the working out part, I think, is more on our crew chief and general manager's shoulders than it is ours. Our goal is to help each other where we can and not hurt each other when we can, and that changes every lap and in every situation. So Chris and I have a good reputation and a lot of respect for each other of knowing that and understanding that. And I think if you look back to last year of what I saw but don't remember, Chris and I were right there at the end, and that's what our hope is for today.
So, Chris, how has Ryan helped make you a better super speedway racer?
Well, so I think back several years ago and trying to approach the speedways with a little different approach. And, I think me and Ryan were together a lot in that approach and trying to make sure that we conserve equipment and stayed out of the big ones that seem to happen early, and, trying to learn how to ultimately finish, because I have noticed a lot of people that have a ton of speed early on and will go out there and throw huge blocks in stage one or 100 laps into a race, and next thing you know, they're on the wrecker and really don't have anything to show for it. And so I think there's something to be said about the way that Ryan's gone about it through the years and been able to be there at the end of almost all these things, right? And so we've tried to take that same approach and do it a little differently, but at the same time be smart about our plan and make sure that we finish. And so at the same time, going back to Ryan's talking points, there is, you do everything you can to help each other when you can without hurting yourself. And so that's what it comes down to at the end. And you go back to last season and trying to get in line and push his row, which we weren't really as close as we needed to be, and needed some help from behind to keep us tighter up. But at the same time, it's just you hope to have that same opportunity in the closing laps again, right? You hope to have our two cars in the top three or four positions on track and make it work. And so I think that that's really all you can ask for. It's all you can work towards, and that's definitely our goal at the end of the day.
Well, rolling off from the 22nd position, Chris, good luck later today. And Ryan, it just seems like it doesn't matter the year, the format, this race, you can just feel the excitement, the anticipation, and just how special it is year after year.
Yeah, Matt, you and I are a lot alike. We understand the history of our sport. We understand the history of a lot of auto racing, for that matter. And Daytona is a special place for many reasons. And just to have another opportunity, period, is amazing, let alone after what happened last year. So really thankful for everybody at Roush Fenway Racing and all the people that prayed for us and gave us this opportunity to come back and do what we love.
I think we all lost years last year every time we watched the replay of your accident coming to the start-finish line. You came back here in August. This is another Speed Weeks. The emotions the same or different from your first return here at Daytona?
Really the same. I'm here to win, here to be focused and tackle my challenges. And I don't think that the challenges really are any different. Emotionally, yeah, I'm aware of what happened last year, and that doesn't, at least it hasn't affected me. I don't plan on it affecting me. I'm really happy that my daughters are able to be here. That's going to be really special in more ways than one today. But it's as simple as it sounds. It's just another race. It just happens to be a really big race and have a really big reward in the end. And as you had said, it can make a career out of somebody. And I know it definitely had an impact on mine. And that opportunity of another trophy and another Harley J. Earl is what we're going for.
So you're 43 years of age today. You go back to when you were 30. A win today, it would be different for Ryan Newman. Why?
Because I'm older. It's been a long time since I've been in victory lane. You never know, right? You never know. Yep. You never know your next win. You never know when your last win is your last win. And we're here still fighting. Got a lot of drive and a lot of passion for what we do, and you know, that's what makes it special. You don't think about it, I think, so much going forward as much as you do sometimes looking back at it. And I'm not at a position where I'm totally looking back, but I've got a lot of great years behind me. But I also feel like just another opportunity this year to have a great year ahead of me, and today's the start of that.
When you look at your career, you have success at the beginning, success in the middle, and you're currently having success. You know, last year, again, you almost had a shot to win your second Daytona 500. Success now more special to you because both your girls are old enough to be a part and understand what you're doing in the race car and what you mean to the sport and the impact of your success behind the wheel.
Well, no doubt it changes my perspective. It does not change the goal, but it changes my perspective and what I've got to kind of fight for, right? I mean, we see that as parents. You know, I know you're in the same boat that I am. It's a passion about doing what you love with who you love, and my daughters as well as my parents are a big part of that. So just look forward to this opportunity and to go out and have some fun. I'm blessed with such a great job, right? A great hobby that I get paid to do, that we call a job, and I know you feel the same way. So try to have some fun with it today.
It's almost like you win the Powerball lottery every day you get a chance to show up at a racetrack. I'm always a big fan of the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, and I think back to special moments in my life that I would love to relive over and over. If you had a chance to go back to 2008, either that week leading up to the event or just that day or something that took place during that 3-hour race, if you could go back and relive it over and over, what would it be?
Just the last lap. Just that special moment of coming and getting the lead going down the back straightaway, and having my dad spotting for me, and just knowing that, you know, if anything happens, we've at least earned it. We may not get it, but we've earned it. And it didn't happen, and we were able to cross the start-finish line. And that was such a special moment. The ironic part is we started 7th that day in 2008, and we start 7th today. So we'll take it for what it's worth. It's really just a number. Good friend of mine always told me it's not where you start, it's where you stop. And we plan on stopping at number 1.
I'm always a firm believer in numerology, and you've got to play the cards you're dealt. Talking about that win in 2008, and there's so much celebration that goes on in Victory Lane, but when you got back to your motorhome and you're gathering your things to head to the airport, there was a knock at the door. Someone came by to congratulate you. Who was it?
I remember King Richard stopping by. I remember Kenny Schrader stopping by. I don't remember everybody at that time, but those are two special ones that I've always been a fan of, right? I mean, just because I raced against Ken Schrader doesn't mean I disliked him. I was a fan of his and still am. And Richard Petty, I was always a fan of, and never got a chance to race with. So that was pretty special.
If you could go back in time, kind of like that TV show Quantum Leap, if you could go back in time and race against someone just for one day, one race that you haven't had a chance to race against, who would it be?
Right now, I'd say it's more than just someone. I could give you a full field, and it would start with Petty Pearson, Allison, Yarborough, Earnhardt. I mean, that would be at least a good starting field. And there's a whole bunch more that I would add on. You know, between AJ and Mario and Mel Kenyon and all kinds of guys that I've raced with some of them, but to race with them all together would be like an amazing dream come true.
So looking at today, from your duel, you mentioned going to roll off 7th today in the 500. What are some of the trends that you picked up on that our corporate friends here in the Roush Fenway family to keep an eye out for, either watching at home on television or here in the chalet?
Well, the reality is, from what I've seen, is keeping an eye on the sky. We're in Florida. There is a chance of rain, and just getting that random shower that could be the end of the race, right? If it's past halfway, that it could determine, what the end result is. And, we have to just keep that in focus, just because it is what it is. And secondly, just like Chris was saying, you have to be there in the end. And as I've always said, to finish first you must finish. So giving up some potential stage points and swallowing your pride and ego to give up a little bit, to know that you got a chance to win the greatest greatest race there is. You know, there's some risk and reward that you have to consider. So all that considered, I'm an odds guy, right? I'm not a gambler, but I know some about odds. And when they drop the green flag, I'm competing against 39 other cars. When they drop the checkered flag, I can promise you there won't be 39 other cars racing. So the odds are the best and the easiest, I should say, later in the race. And it's just a matter of picking that time to go.
There's so many different strategies sprinkled throughout the field. Sometimes you see drivers that like to hang at the back, play it safe in case there's a crash. They have a better chance, odds, like you mentioned, of trying to miss it. Some guys just like to run at the point the entire race. Throwing in the factor that weather could be an issue today, where do you see yourself? What's your strategy looking ahead of today?
Keeping ourselves in the hunt and keeping our nose clean. And that might be leading, that might be fifth, that might be the tail end of the first group, that might be the lead of the second group. I don't know. I'll literally let that unfold as I feel it from within as the race goes. You know, it's tough. I mean, I've had plenty of crew chiefs and car owners and friends and family that say, man, I don't know what you're doing back there. You're just making yourself vulnerable. And then at the end of the race, we're there and we got a shot. And it's so hard to battle at it in your own mind as a driver. But the reality is that's a big part of what we do at Restricted Plate Racing.
Well, Ryan, you're starting seventh, and we know that you've got a great chance. You're always a prolific plate racer now with the Speedway program without the plates, Daytona and Talladega. I remember Buddy Baker always saying, my boy Ryan, when it comes to Daytona and Talladega, he only knows one way, and that's to hammer down up on the wheel and get to the front. So good luck today as you're chasing your second Daytona 500 victory.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks to all the fans and sponsors and people out there that are dedicated to their sport of NASCAR, just like I am, to enjoy the greatest family sport there is, and we'll go out there and try to have some fun and do our thing.
Certainly. Be safe. Have a great race day. Have a great race day, everyone. We appreciate you spending your time with us over the past 45 minutes, previewing the Great American Race and our chances here in the Roush Fenway Racing, setting up what could be some magnificent storylines here in Daytona. Have a great race day. We appreciate you spending some time with us. We've had a great day so far in Daytona, so don't forget we've got a special partner meet and greet with our Roush Fenway stars. Hit the Zoom link, go over and spend a little bit of time with us.